Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War event objectives for the Born This Way event, in which you Seaborn Knight is added to the game. So this week marks the 9-year anniversary of this channel. We've been covering the weekly Gems of War videos, or this video right here, for 9 years straight now, every single week. So that is quite a streak. Gosh, it feels like forever at this point, pretty much a third of my life, but we'll still keep going. But anyways, hope all you guys had a wonderful Easter and holidays, and yeah, let's start getting into things. So this week is a pretty tame week overall, one of the tamer ones that we've had in a while, but of course we just had 2 pretty big weeks overall this month, so it kind of makes sense. And we still haven't gotten the calendar for next month yet, but once we do, we'll probably be able to go over that probably sometime next week, hopefully next week's Monday. But beyond that, where should we start? So, first things first, guild event. So the guild event this week is the world event. So you end up getting a bunch of extra spell damage. The restriction is specifically knights as far as what you end up using. This is going to be pretty useful to end up using Sir Quentin Hadley because he has a 50% mana start to all knight allies. If you do not have this troop, he is accessible in the event key drop table. So you can just open up a bunch of event keys and try to get him. As far as the scoring is concerned, it is relatively straightforward. Basically, just don't take Sea Scavenger. Sea Mantis is also one you want to try to not to take because it does end up getting reset every single time. It's not one of those where you're always just going to have only the weakest one. So you do always want to prioritize taking them in highest to lowest rarity. So highest priority being Leviathan, then Nimue, and so on and so forth until you're eventually forced to have to take an Aquaticus. But basically, as long as you don't take Sea Scavenger, you should be fine. And also, if you can help it, try not to take Sea Mantis if you have other, or the Mantis Shrimp, if you do have other options available to be able to take for the event. But as long as you're not taking Sea Scavenger, you should be perfectly fine. You just keep going through there. With all that being said, let's start going over all the teams for the week. So all these are in the description below if you want to go and copy pasting them. As far as events this week, as we mentioned, not too much going on. Pretty standard week, just with a faction event and a new troop coming in for that this Friday. But other than that, it's a pretty standard week. The only real special thing that I guess that's technically happening is because they did the Easter calendar at a bit of a weird time. What is this, Thursday? We're getting the free reward. That is a really weird date for it. But the free reward for Easter is on this Thursday, so kind of just in the middle of the week out of nowhere. I'm not sure if they did the calendar a little bit late or something, because obviously that didn't align with when Easter is. Yeah, just kind of a random date there. But yeah, definitely make sure to remember to claim that, as it's a really weird date compared to where they normally end up positioning it. So do make sure to go and end up picking that up. As far as the teams, so for the world event, keep in mind, the Knight Hero class, while normally a pretty bad hero class, does have 20% extra bonus this week and does have a lot of synergy with both the World event, given that it's a Knight restriction. This is the only Knight Hero class in the game, as well as the Underspire this week. So even though it is normally a useless class, you're probably going to use it a good handful of times. As far as the World event here, we're using a pretty standard Guards Avatar quick kill team. We're using Sir Quentin Hadley to give 50% mana start to all knights, which we'll be using a lot this week as well. Guards Avatar because he boosts based on all the armor, and of course Sword's Edge, as well as knights in general, gain a lot of additional armor for having troops that type, so you'll be able to amplify his damage even more. And Queen Isabel, which will be doing either to make sure your hero doesn't die, or to give even more armor to your Guards Avatar to do damage with. And of course there's Wand of Stars, or whatever option you want for mana accumulation. As far as the lower rarity team for the World event, we are going and using the Haunted Guardian as a tank from Sword's Edge. You can end up exploding a 3x3 gem, or sorry, a 3x3 cross, and then gains 60. Oh yeah, this is that really weird one. It is a 3x3 and then like an X shape, if I'm not mistaken, which actually a decent amount of explode, or as far as how much it ends up getting. But anyways, ends up gaining a bunch of armor and barriers itself, which is the main thing here. It gets a bit of mana accumulation, but then also gets the barrier itself while being decently tanky. Unfortunately, no attack value there, but given that you have mostly cast damage, extra attack value isn't really going to do much anyways. Has freeze on Skull, which can help get more turns for you, as well as a little bit of score reduction. Black Manacles just is a standard, nice, cheap damage source. It is a knight restriction, so you're allowed to use any weapon in the game, so whatever your best hero weapon, damaging weapon is, you can end up putting there. And ideally, it would be a purple weapon, because we do have access to 2 knights that have Empower into purple. Unfortunately, both of these are from Bladed Land, so neither are in the event key drop table this week. However, you can offset them for other mana accumulators, but if you do end up having them already, yeah, double Empower into purple. Both of them have a purple convert that can, of course, feed into your Black Manacle, as well as, of course, while we're running Haunted Guardian, as you can keep barriering over and over again, since you'll be able to have access access to a lot of purple mana. As far as the faction event, this is for the, not Sunken Fleet, the Crypt Keepers. So the Crypt Keepers event, this is a red purple restriction. As far as we could run for this, of course, we have access to Atlanta ever since it got buffed about a month or so ago. You can end up running this with Leprechaun to get all of your mana quickly off of Empowered, and then just spam your Atlantas with your 75% mana start to get a bunch of damage down. And of course, whatever weapon of choice that you want to end up using, we just happen to be having a black manacle there. As far as the higher range, we're just running a pretty standard double Tesla team. As we do have access to red, we can end up running her. Unfortunately, we can't run a lot of support troops that you would normally would, but of course, this Leprechaun is perfectly fine. A bunch of extra mana accumulation, Dispel, and then just spam your Teslas until you end up winning. As far as the pure faction event is concerned, you basically spam Lady Marana. You do run one Graveseer, not because you actually need it. It just converts green to purple, which of course you don't actually use any purple on your team. But the first and final battle, most notably the final battle, ends up having a green to purple convert, this exact same troop. So you basically want a Graveseer to counter the enemy's Graveseer, because you do not want them to get a bunch of free purple mana into their true damager, as depending on your stats, it can 1 to 2 shot you, so that is not good. So you want to be very careful in that final fight that they don't end up getting all that purple mana, as yeah, they can do a lot of damage with that true damage. You want to insta-kill everything on their team before they really get to the point where they can end up killing you out with that true damage, and you just keep throwing down your insta-kill until you end up winning. As far as the Knight Hero class is concerned, as far as the event for this Thursday for getting your free gems, you're basically just running a bunch of extra mana accumulation behind your hero. Keep in mind, as we mentioned earlier, Knight does have 20% extra stats this week, so that also means any weapon that you use will have 20% more magic, so it is a good idea to potentially end up using it for the Thursday class event, depending on what weapon you want to end up running it for. In this case, we're using the Ruby weapon and using Sir Quinn Hadley, of course, because it counts as a Knight to give it a 50% mana start, just like any other 50% mana start class, and we have both of these giving Water Link. You can end up doing this with cheaper weapons too. You can use Dawnbringer if you have. You can use the 250 win Frost Mage weapon, the Winter's Orb, or whatever it's called, Orbital Winter. That weapon is also pretty good for this, but basically whatever your best blue weapon that you have access to, that can all enemies, just run that and you'll be good to go. And even if you don't have a Sir Quinn Hadley, though, I highly advise getting it through event keys this week. If there's any one thing you're going to open event keys for, it's definitely that thing. But if you don't, you can just offset it for more mana accumulation. Even just another one of these from the event for an extra Water Link would be perfectly fine, just to feed into your blue full AoE weapon. As far as Underspire is concerned, we do have a Doomed Corsac, which is probably going to be your main weapon for both the lower and upper team. If you don't have this weapon, no worries, it is in Soulforge this week. It is a little bit pricey as it is a Doomed weapon. However, it is in Soulforge, so easily accessible. And if you end up getting a bunch of your resources from the Vault event weekend, open up all that, you can end up converting that into, of course, the Doomed Corsac as well. So you can end up getting it that way if you don't already have all the materials gathered. As far as this team, we're basically just spamming that and just have a bunch of support behind it. We have the 50% mana start, we have a little bit extra damage off of Guardian of Law, and Queen is able to hold down the team and a little bit extra mana accumulation from it as well. For the lower rarity team, we're actually running a pretty similar one to what we would run for the Thursday class event, oddly enough, with the only difference being that we're running pure blue, so we can end up utilizing the weapon instead of running a 50% mana start to all knights. This does mean we have a little bit of a lower mana start, but of course we will be having a pure blue team to be able to get the full boost ratio from this weapon, which is really important. Also still getting a nice variety of stats for a huge amount of bonus, as a lot of teams will have this week. It's just an absurd amount of armor. I just wish something in this kingdom actually had armor boost ratio, because this place is pretty much pure armor. It has almost nothing. Actually, I think it has literally nothing that can actually boost specifically from armor itself. They have attack boost ratio and a few other boost ratios like that. But armor boost ratio it doesn't have. Even in the other team that we end up running, like this team that looks like we're building around it, Guard's Avatar is not from Sword's Edge. It is from Whitehelm. So even the armor boost ratio that is really good under Knights, it's not even from Sword's Edge. It's from a completely different kingdom. And beyond that, which ones did I not mention? Underspire Low? Did we mention this one? Yeah. Just spamming the blue Corsac. Honestly, Doomed Corsac's could be the way to go for pretty much anything Underspire this week. It's going to be a really great way to kill them out. It's pretty much like a pre-nerf journey troop. And as far as Bounty Hunter, there are two different ways that you can end up running it. Either 3 bounty troops or 4 bounty troops. 3 bounty troops is to try to win quicker. If you don't want to spend as much time, you can win in like half an hour. Or the 4 times Bounty Hunter team, which ends up, of course, maximizing points if you want to make leaderboard or just maximize how much gems you end up spending into the event. Though, of course, takes a little bit longer. But for the 3 times Bounty Hunter team, also keep in mind both these teams, you replace out Peasant for, of course, the Bounty Captain. The Peasant is just a placeholder, so you can copy-paste it, since obviously the new troop on Friday is not currently out yet, so unfortunately I can't make a copy paste for it yet. But yeah, just replace that peasant for the bounty captain. But anyways, first team, Ogress and Forest Gremlin with whatever your best damage source is. In this case, we're using the Flower Dragon. However, of course, you could still use Stellaryx, you could use Diamantina, you could use Hero with some kind of really good weapon like Ruby, Dawnbringer, whatever else is. Whatever your best damage source is that you want to end up running here, just help speed up the battle. Ogress has a bunch of mana accumulation off of its ability. The Forest Gremlin ends up doing a Green Storm as well as Green Link, which are pretty helpful, while also having a little bit of Fairy Fire option, and then of course whatever the bounty captain is for the weekend. And as far as the 4x faction team, we're running Ogress, of course, just as mana accumulation because it's still really good for it, while also being absurdly tanky, both with 50% reduction and the ability to summon an impervious tank if it was to die. We have Tagraki Warrior, which of course is notoriously the main true damager of bounty hunter events. Just really good true damage that scales off of the enemy stats, so really good for the final fight since it scales pretty well off it. And Corpse Mirror just for a little bit of extra mana accumulation and true damage to assist with your Tagraki. And then of course your bounty captain for this weekend on the final slot there. And that is all the teams for the week. So, hey, Tributes ready. Let's see, can we get one? Oh, we didn't get a good one. Anyways, other things that we have going on this week. So, Soulforge, there are a couple things to mention that are worth going for. The first one, as far as mythics are concerned, I would say Lord or Slaughter is by far the most useful thing that is available this week. Lord or Slaughter is a really good overall skull option. There are a few others in the game, like Wild King, Zolgoth, a few other handful of them, but this is one of the few notorious ones. Back in the day, there were a lot of troops that used to have a 100% chance to do true damage when doing skull damage. However, this mechanic was nerfed into the ground, and now only one troop in the game actually has this trait to the full glory that it used to have back in the day, and that is Lord or Slaughter, with a 100% chance to do true damage, basically, whenever it takes a skull. This is the only troop in the entire game that has this mechanic at this current moment in time, and it is really, really, really strong. Of course, he won't do that if he ends up getting stunned, so there's a bit of a liability there. However, as long as he's not stunned, every skull that he takes while he is in first slot is essentially true damage, which effectively means you're doing half as much damage to kill anything when you end up doing skulls, effectively giving it a 2x damage against everything in the game, pretty much. As far as that, it also gets to have a Doomstorm at the start of battle, a little bit of skull reduction, and its ability has a huge amount of skull spam. Ends up creating 6 brown, converting all those browns into Doom Skulls, which of course is 5 extra damage per as well as all the skull matches you end up getting. And on top of all that, if that wasn't already enough, it gets 1 to 2 free bleeds, but the biggest thing as far as extra value is it gets 1 to 2 free death marks. A lot of times it'll like single double kill from its ability and then also single double kill from its death marks. It gets a lot of potential, and in theory it can actually win in one single cast if you get a really, really, really lucky cast with alignments and everything else, as you kill like 2 to 3 things with your skulls and whatever's left gets cleared out with the death mark. So overall, really solid. Not used a huge amount though, as skulls of course aren't as meta these days compared to cast spam, but has really good construction synergy, really good war gear synergy, can end up being ran for Wild Plains, and of course can be ran for whenever skulls do make a comeback in the game, but is still among one of the top few skull options in the entire game right now. As far as the Soulforge is concerned, there's a handful of things that are potentially worth considering. The first one I would want to bring attention to is Deathbringer. So, Deathbringer requires 3 components, 1 from Drifting Sand, 1 from Droxzoom, and of course the third one from Sword's Edge. And given that it is a Sword's Edge event week, I highly advise getting, if you're going to get any one thing from Soulforge this week, getting the Blade of Nefertani. The Blade of Nefertani itself, pretty useless weapon, but it does allow you to eventually get the Deathbringer. As far as the craftable 1 million soul weapons are concerned, this is actually the weakest of them. However, you always want to be gathering all 3 of the components, so if you ever do eventually want to get this down the line, or if this ever is viable down the line, you'd want to have it. It is basically weaker black mana cost in a lot of situations. Instead of being 15 mana cost, it is 25 mana cost. It also has a bit of an issue compared to Dawnbringer, as it only has a few extra damage compared to Dawnbringer, but has a 5 higher mana cost. The main gimmick of it is that it gets to apply Death Mark to all enemies, so of course this is very sporadic on if it'll do any value, and even if it does do value, it's generally not helping you that much, because a lot of times where you would be using a weapon like this, like Dawnbringer, Ruby, Deathbringer, things like that, is you're trying to kill all enemies simultaneously. And what does Death Mark do for you for that? It will just kill some things randomly. So your main goal of trying to kill everything simultaneously, it does not actually help you with, and is one of the biggest issues with this weapon overall, as there are better ways to apply Death Mark to the opposing team, And normally any kind of situation where you are running a weapon like this, you want to try to kill everything simultaneously, which Def Mark, unless you get absurdly lucky and roll 10% at the same time, will not help you at all for killing everything simultaneously. So for the most part, it is very, very, very underutilized and is almost always beaten out by Black Manacle as far as overall value. So very, very situational, but there are those few handful of situations where you do use it. So do get the components for it. So if Despair ever is viable in the future, or if you end up running it for like a Kedar event or something similar, you still would want to have it in the future. So get the components so you can eventually get your Dustbringer at some point. Though it is definitely the lowest priority of the 1 million soul weapons between Ruby, Dawnbringer, and Dustbringer. Beyond that, Doomed Corsac, of course, we mentioned this earlier. This is a really great Underspire weapon. If you plan to do the entirety of Underspire this weekend, this week, or any point this week, you highly advise having Doomed Corsac. You can do it without it. However, it is going to be the main damage source, regardless of what you have, for the Underspire event this week. So highly advise end up utilizing it. Unless you're going down like some kind of insta-kill team with that one troop from the Crypt Keepers, or Crypt... Why do I always keep forgetting his name? But from the Crypt Kingdom faction. But if you want to end up running that, you can, but this is going to be the most consistent option overall for running through the Underspire this week. So highly advise getting it if you have the resources scrapped together to be able to do so, as it will help out a lot for the event. Aside from that, we have a few explodey weapons. Of the explodey weapons, there is one that is slightly more worthwhile mentioning compared to an average explodey weapon, and is actually, where is it? There's a handful of them here. Wait, where is it? Oh, is it not from this place? Oh no, it's usable for... No, it is from here. That's what I was going to say. I thought it was. Flail of Guard. So Flail of Guard obviously just looks like a pretty standard weapon, but the biggest thing is that it gets Barrier and Bless to itself. This is really good to make sure your hero doesn't die, and is among one of the tankier of the explodey weapons in the game, as, yeah, Barrier Bless every single time they end up casting it. And on top of that, of course, really good for this week, as it gives a bunch of random status effects to all Sword's Edge allies, which for both Underspire and for the Ward event this week is likely going to be your entire team. For Underspire, it has to be your entire team, unless you're not running Knight Hero class for your hero. And for the Ward event, it is likely to be most of your team, if not your entire team. So really great overall tanky weapon, explodey weapon, resummon weapon for this week. And if you're earlier on in the game, this is a great way to stay alive if you're not necessarily running a damage source on your weapon. This could be a great way to, like if you already have another damage source, you can end up using this to hold down the line and just keep resummoning over and over again, while having the Bless barrier to make sure your hero never dies, while resummoning a whole brand new team. And of course, it can also summon mythics and legends that you don't own either. So that's also pretty good earlier on in the game, as you can get a ton of stuff that you might not otherwise have access to if your teams are otherwise pretty weak. Anyways, other things going on this week. Tuesday, we have ourselves the faction event for the Crypt Keepers, which is a red-purple restriction. Wednesday, we have ourselves the Knight pet. I believe this is Knight bonus. Or is this a Sword's Edge one? I always keep forgetting some of the bonus. We're getting too many pets in the game. Same as troops. We have like over 1,000-something troops. Now we have like way too many pets now. That's hundreds. But it's something Sword's Edge related. Either Sword's Edge bonus or Knight bonus. Thursday, we have ourselves the class event for the Knight Hero class. Generally, Knight Hero class would be among one of the worst few hero classes in the game. However, ever since they made the Death Knight into Undead instead of Knight, this did make the Knight Hero class the only Knight Hero class in the game, which has made it quite a bit more viable, as whenever you do need that Knight typing and everything, like this week, for example, it does get a little bit more benefit, as there is no alternative. It is the only Knight Hero class in the entire game, so in situations like that, where you need a Sword's Edge troop, or you need another Knight troop, it can end up filling that gap. Overall, the class itself, really bad outside that context, but given that it has 20% extra stats this week, and a bunch of synergy both in Underspire and in the faction event this week, or sorry, Ward event, it'll be pretty decent to use this week, and then you'll never touch it again until the next Sword's Edge event, basically. And then Friday, of course, as we mentioned earlier and already showed teams for, we got Bounty Hunter, which you just end up setting up all your team, get your bonus, and just end up clearing through that. It's pretty quick if you're running the 3 method. 4 method's still not too bad, though. And of course, 3 methods, like depending on what you have, about a half an hour if you're running like Flower Dragon or Stellarix, which helps speed it up a huge amount compared to in the past. Beyond all that, worth mentioning event keys. So as far as the event key drop table is concerned, there is one trip that we have mentioned a couple times, and I highly advise getting him, not just for this week, but also into the future, and that is Sir Quentin Hadley. He is by far the highest priority to get in this drop table if I could ever get over to it. What is the name of the kingdom again? Wait, why did I forget its name? Sword's Edge. Yeah, why am I going? Well, yeah, anyways. Where am I going? Alright, so Sword's Edge. But yeah, main thing that you'd be opening for, Sir Quentin Hadley. This is really, really good. You probably see me using him a lot with Guard's Avatar, including this week for one of the teams. He is one of the, actually the best synergy troop for Guard's Avatar for those quick kill teams. And overall, for any kind of time that you're going to be running a lot of knights, regardless if they're meta or not at any given time, there will be restrictions where you are going to need to run knight teams, either for PvP or for maybe some kind of guild war thing, or for, of course, weeks like this, where you have to run it for both the world event and for Underspire pretty much. So, yeah, really, really great. 50% mana start. Works great with any mythics that end up using it, any legends, or just anything in general that is a pure knight team that ends up utilizing it. It can also be used in some rare scroll spam teams. There's not enough other knights that really synergize with it at the moment to really make this work. However, he does have a double convert into a decent amount of follow-up damage. He converts purple to yellow as well as green to skull, while also doing damage to 2 enemies, which can also help remove barrier if you end up needing. But of course, is mostly used for its 50% mana start. As far as everything that is not in drop table, so, well, gosh, this list is long, as it is pretty much every week these days. The 5 action troops from Crypt Keepers is not in drop table. That is from throwing Chaos Shards at Sunken Fleet. Or I keep saying Sunken Fleet, I mean Crypt Keepers. The other things that are not in drop table include the, where is it? The Terror card. I just saw it over here. The Justice Terror card. This is only in the Vault Key drop table, though, of course, we just had a Vault event weekend, so if you want to go open up those Vault Keys. It is in drop table, although I don't believe it's used for anything, so not really that useful, but is for kingdom upgrading, everything like that. Beyond that, the new Flower Dragon of Orisia is only in the Flower Egg drop table. That is in Soulforge. And one other thing to mention, he is in drop table, the Aldrich the Frostbound. I believe this is the first time that he has been available through any drop table. I don't believe he has been in Soulforge yet, and I believe this is the first time he has ever been event keyable. He's not particularly useful. He's from that Ghost Gem mechanic from, what, 2 seasons ago? 1 season ago? Two? I want to say 2. But yeah, I believe this is the first time he's ever been available from a targetable drop table. So if you did want to go for him, he is about a 1 in 4,000 chance if you're going to be opening like gem keys or event keys or so. So pretty rare, probably not worth going for because everything else here is pretty average when it comes to mythics. If you're doing it for Kingdom Stars, it's fine, but there isn't really honestly a single thing that you really want event key here for mythic-wise. They are all very, very, very skippable. There are some event weeks like this week where you might end up utilizing a few of them, like Guardian of Law, Champion of Anu, stuff like that, but overall, very, very skippable. The only thing you really need to event key for is ideally 1 copy of Sir Quentin Hadley and 1 copy of Queen Isabeau if you don't have it. Queen Isabeau a lot more situational, a few gimmicks that she could do with like 2 or 3 of herself. But there are some scroll spam teams that end up utilizing her if there's ever like attack gaining teams in the future, like Wild King and a few others. She has a little bit of synergy there, especially if there's ever one in the future that ends up utilizing her colors. For example, Wild Queen ends up utilizing her pretty well because it gives a bunch of attack to your first ally, and then she, which also, while also feeding green, and then she could end up going and gaining that green mana and then giving that attack value even higher as well as doing damage. So there are a few niche situations where you do end up bringing her out, but biggest thing that you want to make sure you don't leave this week without is Sir Quentin Hadley, as he has that 50% mana start to get everything rolling. And also, since this is the 9-year channel anniversary, for any of you that don't know, Shadow Dragon was actually the first legend I ever got when the game first came out 10 years ago, 10 and a half honestly at this point. But because of course we didn't really start covering weekly content immediately for the game. But Shadow Dragon was the first mythic we ever got. I mean, legend, and we actually got 2 of them. Like my first 2 legends were both Shadow Dragon. And it was a lot of fun. He didn't used to have the convert back then, but he did still have the poison. And that was back when poison was actually good. Like, we were talking like single-digit values. So 50% chance to do 1 damage was so much damage back then, compared to now where 50% chance to do 1 damage is pretty much 0. In some cases, having poison on you or even bleed can be a positive effect, because of course there are traits that trigger when taking HP damage. But yeah, it was the first mythic we ever had, 2 of them. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we're still here 10 years later. Anyways, what else do we have to go over? Is that everything? Is that already everything? Wow. Well, it is a pretty uneventful week. We still have the campaign. We're still pretty early in it. We still have PvP, but we're also, it's only like halfway through. Nothing special here. We already went over the scoring. Just don't take Sea Scavenger and try not to take Mantis Shrimp. Sea Scavenger being the lowest priority, Mantis Shrimp being the second lowest priority. But as long as you don't take Sea Scavenger, you should be fine. And yeah, I guess just a new troop. So if we go over to, let's just do it through the event. If we go over to the events, get rewards, we have the Seaborn Knight. Is he any good? No. Though, what's a surprise? Most Glory Troops tend to be that way. He's really weird as far as what he does too. I'm not sure why they did him like this. It's a very strange mechanic. He deals damage to an enemy, boosted by blue gems, at a ratio that is completely irrelevant. And if the enemy is from Atlantis, it'll deal double damage. Why only double? Why isn't this like triple or quad or like 5 times? Especially for no follow-up? If this was triple with like a blue gem spawn, I could see it being okay. Or even remove all blues, because of course if you're trying to counter Merlantis, why would you not, you know, counter blue? It's weird that it's boosted by blue, but doesn't do anything with blue. Like destroy all blue would be great for this guy. So he could gain the mana back for your team, but also, you know, deny all the blue that they need. Since almost every Merlantis team is so blue heavy. It's just really, really weird that they keep doing like these in-betweens. Because that's all you need to do to make this viable. Have it destroy all blue and still keep the boost ratio. Ideally make the boost ratio better, like a 1-to-1 as well. Just have it destroy all blue, make the boost ratio 1-to-1, and have it do triple damage to Merlantis, and then boom, this thing can actually be used. Maybe lower that mana cost a little bit. Though once it gets shiny, I guess that will fix it. So its mana cost is fine. It's just, yeah, 1-to-1 boost ratio instead of 3-to-1. Make it do triple damage instead of double. And have it destroy all blue so you can actually deny the blue that, you know, they need to function would be good instead of just boost ratioing from it. Beyond that, he doesn't really do anything special. A little bit of skull reduction. Actually, that's not true. Water Link on him is actually kind of relevant only for Thursday class events. The main reason being is there was originally no Water Link or links in general in this kingdom that was attached to a damage source. So this has some very, very absurdly niche use cases, most notably Thursday class events for the Knight Hero class. And that is about it as far as when this gets used. But this is now the meta for like thing that has Water Link to give you a little bit extra stats while still having a damage poke for Thursday Knight class events. Which is such a niche situation, but hey, you'll use it this Thursday if nothing else, I guess. Like the one time you ever use him until he gets retired for pretty much the rest of the time, or at least the next night, or the next Sword's Edge event in like a year and a half from now. Because given that there's so many Kingdom, they roll like once a year these days. But anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for now. We will be streaming tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we normally do. We'll also be having a little bit of an extra stream on the actual 9-year anniversary day, which of course, even though this is the time that we normally do it, you know, the posting of the video weekly, the actual date of it is the 23rd, which is this Wednesday. So, you know what? I think we'll hand out 9 redeem codes for the 9-year anniversary then. So we'll do that Wednesday night at the normal time we would normally stream at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, we'll go from there. Hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you, everyone, for the continued support over the days, weeks, years, and everything else. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Gems of War community has been amazing. And yeah, we'll keep going forward. We'll keep doing it as long as the game's around. We'll still keep covering it every single week, as we always do. Feel free to leave a like, as always. Greatly appreciated. I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye, everyone. And thanks for watching.